Namaskar. I'm Ashok Vyas. Welcome to Vision of Asia, Voice of Community on ITV Gold. This Sunday, as we begin, we still have colors which are colors of concern, remnants of COVID-19. I should not say remnants. COVID-19 is still around us. We still have to deal with it. And at the same time, we are figuring out ways to move forward and get back to the rhythm of life. Festivals have also become a different kind of feel these days. And as many of us are excited that Holi is coming, yet this Holi would be like no Holi. But as we move forward in today's Vision of Asia, we have a couple of stories related to COVID-19. We'll begin with Dr. Deena Adimoolam telling us we are not there yet. This is about COVID-19 updates in New York. We will meet Padma Shri Dr. Sudhir Parikh and hear his views on whether Governor of New York should resign. Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney is known for her support to Indian American community members regarding stamp on Diwali. She also talked about what can be done for black and brown communities and COVID-19 relief measures. We'll also have a story from New York Democratic Party chair where he, in a virtual meeting, assured Indian American Hindus, Jains and Bauds that a bill regarding swastika, putting it as hate symbol, will not move further. We'll also have Maha Shivaratri celebration from Gayatri Mandir, New Jersey. All this coming up right after the short messages. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Vision of Asia, Voice of Community on ITV Gold. We begin with a story that tells us more about COVID-19. Dr. Deena Adimoolam shares COVID-19 updates from New York and she cautions we are not there as yet.
How does it feel when somebody calls you a frontline hero?
Honestly, it doesn't really register. I think a lot of us we've had this conversation that we don't really feel like heroes. We walk in to work and we, do our job. We do what we can. And we understand what the job description is that we go in, we do the best that we can. And at the end of the day, we may save a couple of lives and that can, I guess, quote unquote, call us a hero. But we really just feel like we're just doing our jobs on a regular basis. So getting the recognition of what we do, we definitely appreciate it. I know I appreciate everyone's acknowledgement of how hard we work and everything that we're doing, but we really don't feel like we're any different than anybody else on the front line. We don't feel like we're actually heroes. We just feel like we're doing our job on a regular basis.
I think you all are very, very humble, everyone that's working in the front line, and thank you for all the work you're doing. Namrata, I would love to know, when the first surge of COVID-19 happened last year, when we saw the worst of COVID, as we can, talk about, you were actually an ICU nurse at that point. Later on, you went into the emergency department, where you still continue to see COVID-19 patients. How was it being an ICU nurse at that point, at the peak of COVID-19? I want you to take us through the journey of what exactly happened.
Yeah, so I started off on a med-surg unit when our first COVID patient came into the hospital, and that unit got converted into a COVID unit, and then I was redeployed into our COVID ICU. But I remember the first patient coming in and us, surprised that we had somebody coming in with COVID, and it really just exploded. There was the first day where we had one, and then the next day there was three, and then all of a sudden we came back after a couple of days and the entire unit was just full of COVID patients. Being in the ICU, when I got moved down there, I was working with a lot of travel nurses who had come from all over the country at the time to help us out here at like the New York metro area. And they were a godsend. We needed them at the time. We were so short on nurses and beds and room, and we really, our COVID ICU is a makeshift COVID ICU. We took a different part of the hospital that we weren't using because we weren't doing surgeries in that area. And we converted it into an ICU. And these nurses from all over the country, stepped up, helped us out, did everything that we could have asked them to do, and taught us a lot along the way. We all learned together about how to take care of these patients. In the ICU, definitely taking care of the patients in such a critical condition was new to me personally. I'd never taken care of patients that were so sick and needed so many interventions. And the team that we were working with were just phenomenal. It was incredible to see my colleagues, not just the nursing staff, the doctors, the respiratory therapists, the anesthesiologists, the housekeepers, dietary staff, the social workers, all of them, faced with this new uncertainty and not having real answers to anything, but coming up with solutions on the fly and on the spot. It was really inspiring. It was an honor to be able to work with everybody at the time. And even though it was hard and tough and very, very uncertain, and a lot of times it was great to be able to work with everybody and see just how quickly people can adapt to these kinds of situations.
And Namrata, while you were working there, what kind of things entailed for your job duties? What kind of things did you have to do around the patients?
So in the ICU, this was a new concept for me personally, was proning the patients. It's something that was recommended for patients that are intubated and struggling to breathe. We would take them and flip them from being on their back to being on their stomach. It's something that when you're in such a critical state, can throw off your hemodynamics. It can make you even more critical. So when we're trying to reposition these patients, it takes a whole team of us to make sure that all the tubes stay in place. Because these patients are also, not only do they have a tube to help them breathe, but they are also paralyzed and sedated, so they can't move. They don't know what's going on. They can't assist us in all of that. And so when we try to flip them, that was one of the toughest, I think, parts of being in the ICU, was just knowing that after we try to reposition them, that there is a chance that alone, that assistance that we're trying to give them to help them breathe they might not be able to tolerate it. And they may decline in the process. So it definitely took a team. There was at least like 5 or 6 of us all together that would just with one patient, just to try to flip them over to give them a little bit more comfort to breathe.
In this week with Padma Shri Dr. Sudhir Parikh, we talk about New York's Governor Andrew Cuomo. In the face of all the accusations which are surfacing, should he resign? Namaskar, it's my great pleasure and honor to welcome Padma Shri Dr. Sudhir Parikh to this week's special This Week with Padma Shri Dr. Sudhir Parikh. Dr. Sir, welcome, namaste.
Namaskar, namaskar.
So as we begin this week's series of communication, I must bring to your attention that with vaccination and with stimulation package from the White House, one concern which has been expressed by a spokesperson from White House that this stimulation package may lead to inflation. How this sits with you? Do you think that possibility exists, or?
Yes, there is a possibility because it's a very large amount of sum of money government is infusing in the market. So it may lead to the inflation. So I think now is done. So what they have to do, the Fed has to monitor now very closely and make sure if there is a sign of inflation, they have to raise the interest rate. And that's the only way to curtail the inflation. Otherwise, inflation can go run wild, and it may end up having a more problem down the road.
So as a consumer, this is likely to bring additional challenges because if you want to buy a house, then again, if interest rate goes up, that would be a problem. And in general, what do you think could be the precaution as an entrepreneur to sort of face this potential increase in the inflation?
Well, because if inflation increases, it means all the value of the or cost of the all goods goes up, and the value of your money goes down. So it's a fundamental thing, and therefore, whatever money you have, your money cannot buy what you are buying now. So because value of the money goes down, and therefore, inflation is a not good thing to happen, and therefore, I think Fed has to tighten up the interest rate as soon as they see the indication that inflation is kind of creeping up.
So it's an delicate balance which is needed.
Fed has to do it, right?
Absolutely. And there is the need of balance everywhere, and especially when we, coming from New York, are looking at the developments related to Governor of New York, many women coming forward and sort of accusing him of inappropriate behavior. In this context, White House and President Biden also said that let the investigation take its course, and many people are demanding his resignation. What do you think about this whole scenario, and do you think he should resign at this point? Your thoughts?
I think, I mean, it can cut both ways, in a sense that, I mean, everyone is innocent unless it's proven. And so good investigation, thorough investigation is the right thing to do. But again, if that investigation can go on for another year or two, and right now we are in the pandemic, and a lot of important things to taken care of by governor. So then whole state can get paralyzed, sort of administrative wise, and that's also not good for New York State, and therefore it's very difficult call. But I think investigation has to be done. Unless something comes up very damaging, then probably a good thing for him, for Democratic Party, that he should resign and move forward, you know.
So just staying at this scenario, if he resigns, is it not indirect admission that he acted in inappropriate manner? So maybe till he's in the office, he psychologically have the feeling that he has some say in the way things are proceeding. I'm just loudly thinking with you, and what might be happening in his mind in terms of deciding to stay on with all these people calling him to resign?
No, because nobody wants to damage tarnish their own image, and if it is this whole allegations has no substance in it, we don't know. If somebody did the allegation, doesn't mean anything. So then I think he has all right to ask for a good investigation and go through investigation. Doesn't matter. Of course, there will be a kind of fallout from that. Democratic Party may lose election next year and next time. Governor may be Republican governor there, or administration suffers. Pandemic management of the pandemic will suffer, and a lot of problem. I mean, a lot of damages or a lot of side effects of that whole thing. So I think governor himself has to decide which way he wants to go, and he knows the fact himself that whether these allegations are right or wrong, and if he thinks that it's not right, or he has a kind of evidence, or he knows the true story, then I think he should not resign and let the investigation go on.
So I think, as you said, it could be this way or that way, but he's not resigning. And I want to stay with this because this I think is sometimes difficult for a common man to understand someone who is so well in terms of handling of the COVID related situation with his excellent press conference, for which he has even been nominated for some prestigious awards from on television. Um, so he, if acts in this way, just assuming that he acts in this way, and we have seen many cases of this kind where powerful people were blamed, and even Bill Cosby is, I think, behind the bars, and things like that have happened. So what happens in the mind of men who are in the position of power, if you try to analyze as per your observation, and there is good and bad together in a man's mind?
Well, I mean, when somebody's in the power, they kind of they exert that authority of the power to the subordinate, and the subordinate cannot resist it, or cannot say deny it, or cannot push back, because they are always afraid of that power of the person, their own job, their own livelihood, and so many other things. So that's why the person who is in the power are not supposed to take advantage of the person who works for them, or who is subordinate, and that's why it's called sexual harassment. Why
And
it called harassment? Because being in power, you cannot use your power or perception of the power to intimidate someone.
absolutely. And just one more question related to this, regarding the women who have accused, and there are 4 or 5 women now, which kind of gives you a trend about his potential behavior. Again, we don't know. But then the question comes about the women when she's facing that moment. At that time, they remain silent. That way, it reduces their credibility, or do you think that is natural because she's more scared at that point and she has a lot to lose? Or what do you think about this
No,
from
because
women's point of view?
no, because that's what exactly whole underlying problem is. That it's very difficult to raise the voice against the power, quote unquote power. So, and that's why they don't, usually they don't raise the voice. And sometimes they think that, okay, this has happened one time, and there's nothing to it, and they move on. And or if it keeps bothering them, then obviously they come out, and that's what happened is in this case. And I think most of the allegations are not that uh, kind of they are serious, but it's kind of day to day happening in the American culture. So we don't know, but couple of that allegation, the latest allegation for physical assault, it's definitely no.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I appreciate that analysis, Dr. Saab. We now move towards another area of Quad meeting, first virtual after 2007, probably, in which President Biden participated, his counterparts from Japan, Australia, as well as Prime Minister of India also participated. How do you see significance of this Quad meeting in terms of the future collaboration between these nations on technology as well as climate change?
Well, it's a great opportunity and great progress, because this Quad organization is meant for balancing the power of between USA and China, and by having this kind of organization, whenever there is an emergency, whenever there is a calamity, wherever there is a need, economical need, this kind of body can resolve so many problems, because they have a chance to meet one-on-one at the highest level of administration. And that's, so this is a good thing one can happen, like G7, G20, and this is Quad. So is a different players are in the different group. So I think it's a great idea to happen.
And staying with America in today's session, the final question relates to increase in the inflow of children without their parents on the borders of America. And the policies of Biden administration are different than the policy of President Trump's White House. So, how do you see this as a problem and the way it is being handled?
Well, I think Biden policy is completely different about immigration. He believes in open immigration, but again, every issue has two sides. I mean, open immigration is a good for children whose parents are kind of they're separated from their parents, but in the same time, this can be used to push a few more children here who never their parents were never been here or separated. So we don't know, and I think now Biden administration is feeling the heat for this because it makes more chaotic and more unruly and out of order, and every country has to have some kind of immigration order or border or some regulations that who can come, who cannot come, and how they can come. So I think probably in long run, this may do good, but also same time it may backfire on the administration because of the kind of sheer nature of the problem. Because it's difficult to once you open up the border, it's difficult to control right people and separate the right people from the wrong people.
Absolutely. Again, delicate balance is needed. And on that note, where the significance of balance in every reference comes to the forefront, as we conclude your parting words from today's show for our viewers.
Well, I mean, dear friends, again, I would like to remind everyone and suggest that pandemic is still here. We must follow the guideline of CDC guidelines in our day-to-day life and get vaccinated whenever you get a chance to get vaccinated. All vaccines are safe, all vaccines are effective, and all vaccines are must to control this pandemic. So please do that. God bless America, God bless India, and God bless Indian American. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney also talked to us about relief measures for COVID-19. She has given big support to Indian American Hindu community members in release of stamp on Deepavali. She also talked to Aditi Lamba about various programs for black and brown communities.
Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney, thank you so much for giving us your time on ITV Gold. I hope you're doing well today.
I'm doing very well. I'm doing better because I'm with you today. Aditi, thank you for inviting me.
Of course, we have to have you because there's so much that's happening in New York, and you are the representative for the 12th Congressional District. So we have a lot of questions for you with very little time. So let me go right into it, Congresswoman. My first question to you is actually a request to you. We have lost more than 500,000 Americans in this country due to COVID-19 pandemic. We just passed a 1-year anniversary of when this COVID-19 was declared a pandemic. Just a message out to those families who have lost loved ones.
Well, it's been one of the worst tragedies our country's ever faced. Our heart goes out to everyone who's lost a loved one, but we have a tremendous challenge now to save all other people in our country. We have the vaccine. We have to make sure we have enough of it to get it out into the communities. I see it as a race between the virus and the vaccine, and the virus is winning now. It's out ahead. So we have to work extra hard to get everybody vaccinated. I was spending the last 2 days of the weekend going to vaccination sites in my district, and I saw a man that I knew who's always usually very energetic and happy, but he was very sad and despondent. So I stopped to talk to him. I said, "What's the matter with you? Why are you so sad?" He said, "My wife came down with COVID. She just died. I'm so devastated." And I was so devastated too, not only for his loss, not only for the loss to the community, but the fact that we had the vaccine. And if we had gotten it to her earlier, she would be alive today. So my mission, my goal is to get vaccines out there. I would say that our President Biden has the same goal. We put $20 billion in the American Rescue Act for the production of the doses, for the syringes, for the supplies, and very importantly, you have to train the people to give the vaccine. So all of this money is being used for that, and we're pushing it out as quickly as possible. The president says by May 1, every adult in the country should be eligible for the vaccine. We should all go and get it. Now it's 60 years old and up, but we are moving out. And by the end of the summer, we hope to have everyone vaccinated. But to me, it is a tragedy if someone wants the vaccination and we haven't gotten it to them, because getting it into their arm can save their lives. So my heart goes out to everyone who's lost a loved one and to the communities that have lost loved ones. But the challenge is we can prevent it by getting the vaccine out. So that is our focus, to produce the doses and get them out. And I'm going to be putting up on my website daily sites within my district where people can get the vaccine, and trying to publicize it and get it out. We have certain vaccine centers. We have the Javits Center. We have the City Fields in Queens. So, and they are 24/7. They're there trying to vaccinate people, but we also need to bring it into the communities because many people can't move. Many people are in wheelchairs and are just don't feel like they can move around. So we have to go to the senior centers and to, I believe that we vaccinated everyone in congregate care units in New York now. That all our friends that are in nursing homes, they are in congregate care, and we are have gotten them all vaccinated. So slowly, we're getting it done. But we have the cure. We have the answer. There's so many problems in government that we don't have the answer. We don't know how to cure cancer, but we do know how to prevent the COVID now with the vaccine. We must get it out as quickly as possible to every community, to everyone in America.
That's so true. You know, Congresswoman, the healthcare crisis and the economic crisis in the nation has truly impacted Black and Brown communities disproportionately. What do you think is needed to truly uplift these communities, especially when you're looking at the economic recovery of New York?
Well, it's a multitude of challenges. This week I was down at a public housing development, and we have a whole program going into public housing developments. Many of them are in stressed neighborhoods, and it's not only for the development, that's just the center. You have to come in almost like a mini hospital and set up with doctors, nurses, the vaccines. They now have allowed pharmacists to be certified to provide the vaccine. It's coming into Dwayne Reed pharmacies across our city and all of the neighborhoods. So first we have to get them vaccinated, but we also have to make sure, and this is what the American Recovery Act does, make sure that they have the money to stay in their homes. And we have over $26 billion to help people stay in their homes if they can't pay the rent. We have to make sure that they have enough food and support. And we have billions of dollars in that area. Plus, for the first time, we have sent out during this crisis direct payments to people. We sent $600 in the COVID relief package. This has $1,400, $1,400, going to roughly 85% of Americans across America will be getting that check to help them get through this crisis. We have also extended the unemployment. We were at the deadline for the unemployment with the $300 surplus that we add to the unemployment check. We are trying to save our small businesses with loan programs and grant programs and assistance to help them keep the doors open. But the main thing we can do for our small businesses is vaccinate our people so that they feel they can go to the small business, that they can go to the restaurant, that they can go out and feel that they are protected and other people are protected. So it all comes down to the vaccines. And as I said to you, I think it's a race. The virus is winning now. We have to get out in front of the virus with everyone being vaccinated and prevent the spread of it.
You were there for the Capitol insurrection on January 6th. A lot of the members of the Congress dealt with what they called was life-threatening and a dark day for our democracy. Could you please share with us your experience on that day and how it has been to then go ahead and have these Capitol hearings to truly figure out what went wrong that day?
Well, that day will go down in history as one of the darkest in the history of our country. I was not afraid for myself. I was afraid for our democracy because they were taking over the Capitol. And one of the things that has distinguished America is the peaceful transfer of power, the respect of the ballot box, the respect of the ballot. We were in the process of certifying the election of President Biden, which is part of the Electoral College requirement. And because of COVID, we were restricted how many people could be on the floor. Speaker Pelosi was presiding, and only the representatives from the states of Arizona and Pennsylvania, where there were contested ballots and a vote taking place in a debate, they were on the floor. I was watching it on my television set in my office, and I could see the speaker being approached to leave, and that was disturbing. I didn't understand. I saw her say, "No, I don't want to leave," but she left. Someone else took over. But then I saw the Secret Service sort of hustle and escort out in a very quick way Leader Hoyer. So you knew there was trouble. Representative Gosar from Arizona was speaking, and he kept hitting the desk saying, "There's no order in the House. There's no order in the House." My office is right across from the Capitol, so I could look out the window and see the people from the west side of the Capitol coming around to the front, going up the steps, going in the side door. And you could watch the insurrection really on television because people were inside taking tapes and they were putting it up. So you could literally watch it. And it was extremely disturbing. For 4 hours, they took over our government. The proceedings were halted. And I knew the attitude of our leadership in our country that we would not stop till we completed the certification. As soon as order was restored, we went back into session. We stayed in session until 4 o'clock in the morning, certified the ballots electing President Biden. As chair of the Oversight Committee, along with many other committees, we are conducting oversight. We have had several briefings with the FBI, the Capitol Police, the Secret Service on what happened, what they knew before, what they did that day, and what they're doing now to make sure that it never happens again. It's very, very serious. It's being taken very seriously. The first order of government is to protect our people and to protect our Capitol. And we need to get better at it, and we need to make sure it doesn't happen again.
That's so true. And, I'm glad that you were all okay. It was a very scary day for all of us to watch. Congresswoman, you did do Diwali stamp. That's a huge part of the South Asian culture right now. You've been there for the community. I would love for you to give one last message to the audience on what your focus is on them and what you like to say to the community.
Well, I say let there be light every day, not just on Diwali, and let's work together for good over evil and for achievements over inaction and just light in everyone's life and in every way. That's what the rescue package was about. It was actually with you that I started the Diwali stamp. I was at one of those great festivals that we have down at South Seaport before the COVID, where we all gathered, and you and others said, "Congresswoman, we want a Diwali stamp." Everyone has a Diwali stamp. You have the Hanukkah stamp, the Christmas stamp, the Enid stamp, the Kwanzaa stamp. Why not Diwali? I put in a bill. I worked on it many years to get the support. I even appealed to President Obama to support it, which he did, and we finally got it. They at first were telling me that it wouldn't make any money. No one would want the Diwali stamp. I said, "You don't understand the Indian American community and the supporters." And I would say every religion in some way. I know mine has let there be light. It's part of the religion and a part of the attitude. It became, we had the opening at the Council General's home here in New York, which is in my district. It was hundreds of people came. And they sold out that day. And it has continued to be one of the biggest selling stamps in the United States Stamp Office. So I'm very proud. I use the Diwali stamp. We all use the Diwali stamp. And it has such a positive, unifying message, which is what we need in this country right now. I also think that one of the greatest leaders of all time was Gandhi, with his message of peaceful resistance, peaceful messaging. Both Martin Luther King and many other leaders in America have credited Gandhi as their leader. Martin Luther King has received the Congressional Gold Medal. I think that his mentor and leader should receive it too. So I'm putting in a bill to honor Gandhi. It would be, I believe, the 50th anniversary of his death, I believe.
Yes.
And it's a long time past due that Gandhi received the recognition, not only for his leadership in India and towards independence, but also his leadership in the world. He became a glorified leader of all of the people who were working for self-government and self-representation, and in terms of Martin Luther King, massive changes with the civil rights laws of our country, which Martin Luther King led so brilliantly. But he always carried with him, I don't know if you knew this, he always carried with him a little book of Gandhi's sayings. Did you know that? I read that he.
Yes,
And then
I've heard that, yes.
When he died, they went to his home, and on his desk was a book on Gandhi sitting right on his desk. So he was an inspirational leader to one of the greatest leaders in our country. And he was certainly one of the greatest leaders in India, and I would say the world.
Yes.
So I think the US Congress should honor him.
A bill in New York State which includes swastika as hate symbol, and the proposal in the education bill would amount to teaching students about a negative image of swastika, which is confusing with the symbol used by Nazis. And that bill caused a lot of sleepless nights for many devout Hindus. Finally, a virtual meeting with the chair of Democratic Party, J. Jacob, important community members including Consul General of New York, Randir Jaiswal, and President of Hindu Temple Society of North America, Dr. Uma Maisurekar, coordinated, organized by Kamlesh Mehta. Good news declaration in the form of an assurance that this bill is not going to move further. Take a look.
And the good news that I bring is that this bill, 2727, I believe it is not going to move forward. It will not be advanced in the Senate or the Assembly. And you owe a lot of thanks, I think, as well to Kevin Thomas, the state senator from Long Island, of course, of Indian descent, who understood very well the need to make sure that that bill did not move forward. You know, the United States, as you all know, having lived here, as I've learned and we've all learned, is a very complex country. And democracy is not an easy process, as we've seen, and we learned that lesson again on January the 6th. But I think that what makes it work and where we will succeed is when people get active and we work together. When Kamlesh called me and laid out the difficulty with this particular bill, the importance to the Indian community, and of course I had some background because I was familiar with the fact that it was a symbol, a very positive symbol of peace, prosperity, and good tidings, if you will, in the Indian community. And frankly, it's used in other nationalities as well for other positive purposes. When he brought that to my attention that this bill existed, I didn't even know that the bill was being proposed in the Senate. I understood the importance to your community, but more importantly, you know, what I wanted to stress and what I did when I spoke with members of the Senate and others that I spoke with was that we have in this country a culture of respecting each other. What makes America great, I think, is that we are an amalgamation, if you will, of people from all over this world who've decided to come to this country because they were hoping for a better life, a fair, more just life, for freedom, for opportunity, excuse me, economic or otherwise. They wanted the true promise of America, the American dream, a hope and opportunity. And part of that dream and part of the allure of America is that you get to live your lives as good citizens with kindness toward each other and with the ability to still hold on to your own culture and embrace it and live with it. I thank you all for your support, your kind words, and it was my pleasure to be able to give you that good news today.
Mr. Jacobs, let me tell you how elated I am that you've lent support to an issue that is so dear to our hearts. I also wish to thank you for all the support that you've rendered to our community in Long Island and elsewhere for their welfare and for their well-being. Madam Mysurkar so beautifully put across what swastika means in various Indic traditions and religions. It is central to Hinduism, it is central to Buddhism, it is central to Jainism, and it also has a deep meaning in various other traditions across the world.
The governor is aware of this issue, numbers of state senators are aware of this issue, and I think what we have to do is we simply have to educate people. You know, I look at the two symbols that are on my screen here. One, that was right in front of me, the Nazi symbol. It has one character to it, but the Hindu symbol is very much different. And I think what we have to do is get recognition that the only thing that is the same is that the Nazis, and frankly, they didn't refer to it as swastika. I think it was referred to by others as swastika. The Nazis called it something else that I won't try to pronounce, but I would simply say to you, it's only the terminology of swastika that needs the clarification. The symbols themselves are different. Are there similarities of shape? Yeah, but similarities of a lot of things. So I think that the education process that we have to move forward is not that significant. I think we can do that. I took note of Section 240.31 in the Penal Code that was addressed that I'm going to take a look at and see how that might be modified so as to distinguish between the Nazi symbol and the Hindu symbol, which may share the same name in people's minds, but most certainly have absolutely nothing to do with one another in terms of what they represent, what they mean, and their place in our world moving forward. So we'll work on that. But in the meantime, I think we're in good shape, and then we've got work to do for the future, and I'll work on that.
I am a Hindu, and for me, of course, it is close to my heart, my religion. At the same time, I have the responsibility of Buddhist heritage, of Jain heritage as much. The 24th Tirthankara, Lord Mahavir of Jainism, was born in my hometown, Vaishali. Vaishali is also the place where Lord Buddha crisscrossed the land on a daily basis. He announced his parinirvan. He announced his last vas, his impending death in Vaishali. So that is how close I am to all these three traditions. A tradition or a stream of traditions which has given so much of wealth, so much of happiness, hope, thought, philosophy to the world at large. So thank you very much for your understanding and for your support. So juxtaposing something which is so deep, which has a history of 10,000 years or possibly more, with something which has been as recent and has a negative coordination would have amounted to not doing justice to the to the inner core of swastika, the meaning of swastika, and the emotions of people that is so deeply attached to it. So thank you very much. And for that reason, I think your support in favor of not positioning these two aspects together speaks of a deeper understanding of our sentiments and of our faith. So thank you very much once again. And
Mr. Jacobs, Honorable Mr. Jacobs, you have assured all of us here. Today, our heartbeats are for a different reason racing very high, because there is an anticipation that this bill is not going anywhere. So thank you very much for saying so and assuring us of that. And all the organizers of this great meet and great initiative that we have fought. Just to, not to take any time, but I want to say one thing definitely. In the annals of Indo-US relationship, Mr. Jacobs, you will last forever. And with this video digital recording of the whole thing, your words will matter a lot to further the relationship going forward.
And I was just texting Mr. Mehta to say, congratulations to you for all your hard work. And Mr. Jacobs has now come forward and assured us, and I think all of us can sleep peacefully tonight, thinking that this swastika will not go anyplace. This is something so close to our heart. As I said, I live my day, morning, afternoon, evening with swastika. It's almost impossible to believe that the swastika can be in any way removed or not respected the way it was.
We have to recognize the Holocaust and difficulties our Jewish brothers have gone through. At the same time, it was Hakenkreuz and not the swastika. And so making this bill, not having swastika name in there and going it away, has done the true justice to everybody in the world.
By giving us an assurance and promising you are going to get more than 1.8 billion blessing around the world, directly or indirectly, which will definitely give you more power and more strength to protect, again, legal rights, religious right, and constitutional right.
Any confusion between our Hindu religion symbol and other symbol of the hate from the Germany is two different things. And I'm glad that chairman of the Democratic Party responded to Indian American community's protest and got kind of convinced that they will try to not equate the Hindu religion with the this kind of hate symbol. And therefore, we should be very grateful to Chairman Jacob, as well as we should really very lucky that Chairman Jacob is helping us because of his now better understanding of our point of view. And I also congratulate Mr. Kamlesh Mehta and his team and those who are actively participated in the protesting this bill. They won, or their victory is in our hand, and therefore I must congratulate them. And please keep working like this in the future too.
Maha Shivaratri is an important festival for all Hindu devout practitioners. Lord Shiva, and this Shivaratri is specially remembered and observed as a day to focus on that aspect of one's being which resonates with truth, which fills one's heart with love and compassion. It involves fasting, and Lord Shiva is known to be Abhishek Priya. So there were many temples which observed whole night prayers and worship for Lord Shiva. Here we have a story from Gayatri Mandir, New Jersey, celebration of Maha Shivaratri.
Om hi sabka saar hai, Om hi sabka saar hai, uske ghar hai sabko jana, yaad rakhiye, uske ghar hai sabko jana, sabka antim wahi ठिकाना, उसके घर है सबको जाना, सबका अंतिम वही ठिकाना, शिव के नाम रूप अगणित है दोस्तों, शिव के नाम रूप अगणित है, वह तो घट घट में स्थित है।
पादो से भवत् पुनः ततो विश्वव्यक्रामत् शासनानशने अभि। ओम भगवते श्री महाकालाय नमः। अर्घ्यं समर्पयामि। आचमनम। और अर्घ्य है भगवान को महाकाल।
हमारा शरीर एक दिन मुट्ठी भर बस होने जा रहा है तो कैसे? ओम यत्पुरुषं यदुः कपिलाभयं मुखं किमस्यासिद्धिं बाहु किमूलं समर्पयामि। सौभाग्य द्रव्याणि कुमकुम अबीर गुलाल। ओम आवाहनं न जानामि नैव जानामि पूजनं विसर्जनं न जानामि समस्त परमेश्वर।
हेलो, मेरा नाम उमा शंकर पांडे है। मैं यहाँ वॉलंटियर गायत्री चेतना सेंटर में वॉलंटियर के तरीके से काम करता हूँ और हम भी गायत्री परिवार से ही हैं यहाँ पर। और आज का कार्यक्रम महाशिवरात्रि शिव अभिषेक हम लोग हर साल करते हैं, तो इस साल भी हम लोगों ने किया है। कोविड के रहते हुए हम लोगों ने सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग जो भी है, और हम लोग इसलिए करते हैं, खासकर आज इस टाइम में इसलिए करते हैं ताकि ये जो भी आजकल आपदाएं चल रही हैं, भगवान महाकाल से हम ये प्रार्थना करते हैं इस शिव अभिषेक के ज़रिए कि हमको इन मुश्किलों से बाहर निकालें और हमको शक्ति दें, शक्ति प्रदान करें यहाँ पर, ताकि हम भी जो है समाज का, अपना समाज का और सबका कल्याण कर सकें, और भी जो भी हमसे योगदान हो सके हम यहाँ कर सकें। तो ये प्रार्थना है, ये एक यूनिक एक्सपेरिमेंट भी इसको कह सकते हैं। आजकल के बच्चे अगर देखें तो आजकल के हिसाब से बहुत यूनिक एक्सपेरिमेंट है, जहाँ पर कोई दवाई जब काम नहीं करती तो कहते हैं भगवान का ही सहारा लेना पड़ता है। तो हम भी आजकल इस महा अभिषेक के ज़रिए एक पूरे वातावरण में एक पॉजिटिविटी, एक सृजनात्मक सोच हम जो है इसको क्रिएट करने की कोशिश करते हैं इस गायत्री चेतना सेंटर से।
जय गुरुदेव, सभी को प्रणाम। मैं गायत्री चेतना सेंटर से विनोद बोल रहा हूँ। आज यहाँ गायत्री चेतना सेंटर न्यू जर्सी पिस्काटवे में बहुत ही अच्छी तरह से महाशिवरात्रि निमित्ते महारुद्राभिषेक पूजन बहुत ही अच्छी तरह से संपन्न हुआ। बहुत ही लोगों ने उसमें पार्टिसिपेट किया। हम लोग ने ऑनलाइन पे भी वो टेलीकास्ट किया था, तो बहुत, मेरे ख्याल से बहुत लोगों ने महाशिवरात्रि के पर्व के दिन इस महारुद्राभिषेक का लाभ लिया होगा। कहते हैं कि शिवरात्रि के दिन शिव यानी कि शुभ और शंकर यानी कि कल्याण। सो शिवरात्रि के दिन अगर कोई भी व्यक्ति अगर शिव जी की पूजा करे तो कभी भी उसकी व्यर्थ नहीं जाती है। तो मेरे ख्याल से बहुत लोगों ने ये लाभ लिया होगा। तो यहाँ से मैं गायत्री चेतना की ओर से, पूरे गायत्री परिवार की ओर से ITV का भी बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया अदा करता हूँ और सभी के लिए प्रार्थना करता हूँ, सभी का शुभ हो, सभी का कल्याण हो, सभी से गुरुदेव, गायत्री माता, महाकाल सबको सुरक्षा सबको सुरक्षित रखे, सबको अच्छा स्वास्थ्य दे, सबका भविष्य उज्जवल बने। वही कामना, वही शुभेच्छा, वही प्रार्थना के साथ मैं फिर से एक बार ITV का बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया अदा करता हूं और जिन्होंने पार्टिसिपेट किया और जिन्होंने ये प्रोग्राम सफल बनाने में सहयोग दिया उन सभी परिजनों का मैं बहुत दिल से सभी का अभिवादन करता हूं। जय गुरुदेव, सभी को प्रणाम। Om Namah Shivaya.
And now time to say goodbye from today's Vision of Asia Voice of the Community. But before we do that, gentle reminder, join us on our Facebook page. Be our friends. Subscribe to ITV Gold's YouTube channel